Miary Zo is the new DLC character in Tekken 8, and she is from Madagascar, which is an island nation just east of the southern tip of Africa, and she practices Morangi and other traditional African martial arts, including a self-taught style in which she mimics animals. Miary Zo is my favorite DLC character that this game has had so far. The only other DLC character that I play are like Eddie and Lydia Sobieska, and I do think it's a bit strange that Eddie was a DLC character, but whatever. And I don't really like most of the DLC characters. I think Anne is alright, but the other ones, whatever. Now, Miary Zo has different stances, and she naturally seems to be a bit of a rushdown character, and a lot of her moves are sort of designed for counterplay. Her forward 4-2 actually goes over lows, which I think is actually kind of cool. And she has her stance in which she'll basically just spin around on her pole and everything, and there's different attacks you can do from that position. And she does seem to be a character that's kind of stance heavy, and as I mentioned earlier, goes for counterplay. Now, I think it's interesting that she's not going to sit there and just try to mix you up all the time. She, at least from first impression, seems to be more of a fundamentals character, like getting really good pokes and really good punishes, especially, and trying to set up for counters. And I think it's actually kind of refreshing to see a character like this, because typically there's the joke about how all Tekken characters nowadays are just 50-50 mix-ups and then drive rushes. I said drive rush, I meant like heat rush, stuff like that. But Miary Zo doesn't really seem to be that way. She definitely seems to try to actually get really good punishes, and she seems to utilize counters and everything. She does not have a parry, which I think is quite unfortunate because I'm a big fan of a character having a parry. But whatever. I do think she is a lot of fun, and I think her stances are pretty cool. Like if you do forward 3 and then press 3 again, she'll have like a big armored push kick almost. And she does have a spinning back fist, which is like up 2 or maybe up forward 2. And I think that's an awesome move too. Look at this slow motion, by the way. We are moving in real time. So I think she's a very interesting character, and a lot of people have noted that her damage output seems to be quite low. Me personally, I didn't really notice it that much. I don't necessarily think that it's her damage output that's low. I think it's just that everybody else's damage output is so ridiculously high that she pales in comparison. I mean, look at Asuka. She can do, and don't get me wrong, I love Asuka in this game, but she can do like 100 damage, which is 50% from standing combos. So, and if she gets like a wall blast or a floor break, she can get like up to 110 in some cases. So, as I said, I don't think it's necessarily her damage output that's low. It's just that everybody else's is high. And by her, I mean Miary Zo. I also think it's a lot of fun to experiment with her stances. Like if you do forward 3, you can do 2, and she'll just do an uppercut that leads into a tornado, or you can use it to end a combo. But if you do forward 3 and then you do like 4-1-2, she'll actually extend, and she'll have this big giant swinging attack, which she'll take the snake arms and actually cause a tornado with it, like that attack. And you can also use like 1-2 out of the stance, and then she'll just do like a forward jab, and then she'll use her snake arms, and you can actually perform heat actions with that move. So it's like you have basically 3 different options at a certain instance, and I'm a huge fan of option selects in a fighting game. I think option selects are the most fun because when you make the right decision and you put them just on the wall and you can actually perform wall combos, I think it's like the coolest thing ever. And Miary Zo has a lot of stuff like that where it's like, okay, you have 4 different options from this one move, and it's a lot of experimentation, like which option works the best in this particular circumstance. And as I mentioned, I think that is the most fun stuff in fighting games, characters with option selects. So Miary Zo is right down my alley in terms of character design. And as I said, I think she's a very fun character. She's my favorite DLC character in the game. And I also like the fact that Miary Zo can just sit there and just materialize like a pole out of thin air and just use it to gain more momentum for her kick. It's really awesome stuff. But a lot of people also say that Miary Zo is a low-tier character and that she's just not good. And I think a lot of it has to do with her low damage output. But as I mentioned, I don't think that she's bad at all. I think she's actually a very solid character in this game. And I really like the fact that a lot of her moves, she just kind of mimics animals. I think that's really cool, like her forward 1+2, 1+2, 3+4. She just kind of does like these big swiping attacks, sort of like an animal would. And a lot of times she'll like swing, like lemurs and stuff. She has 2 lemurs, like Coco and Vanilla, that follow her everywhere. You can see her interacting with the lemurs in some of her victory animations, as well as on the character select screen. I think that's cool too. Personality-wise, I think she's awesome. As I said, I have a lot of great things to say about this character. She's very happy-go-lucky. She's very much so like I want to be friends with everybody. let's fight, let's be really cool friends and let's learn a lot from each other. Kind of like Elena from Street Fighter personality-wise. I saw some dude on Twitter or X say that she's kind of like the Tekken equivalent of Elena. Personality-wise, yes, but fighting style-wise, we could get Christie. Listen, Harada, we could get Christie, Michael Murray, the development team, whoever. This is another plea for me to add Christie to this game, please. But anyway, enough about Christie for now. But she's a very happy-go-lucky, very respectful person, and I love that personality type. It's one of the biggest reasons why I love Elena, outside of the capoeira stuff, just because she's just a cool character, and I think Miary Zo is just a cool character, overall. I love her gameplay. I like her fighting styles. Look at the jump, by the way. Don't mess with me, amigo. But I love her character. I love the stances, the personality. Overall, she's just a really, really cool character. I don't really know about making any changes. Maybe if they buffed her damage output a little bit, I think she'd be alright. But she's just such a really cool character. I mean, look at this wall carry. Am I right? And that's her forward 1+2, 1+2, 3+4. She also has up forward 1, which is basically a command grab. She'll shoot you in the air and then grab you with the snake arms, and she'll just slam you into the ground. It also breaks the floor and stuff like that too, which you're about to see now because I sidestep Reina and I get a really good punish off of it. Her back forward 3 is a big sweep right there, and that also sets up a ground combo, so you can do her back 3, 4, 2 out of it, which also leads to her additional stances, and you can get really good wall carry. As I said, Miary Zo is just such a cool character. I also thought it was interesting, too, that no balance update came alongside Miary Zo. No balance update whatsoever, no changes. If there were any changes, they were very, very minuscule. The changes were so small that you just couldn't notice them, negligible changes. But either way, when it comes to the current state of Tekken 8, the game's in a bit of a rough patch right now. I think Miary Zo is such a cool character. I've definitely played more Tekken in the last few days than I have in a couple of weeks, which is nice. I played a bit for Asuka, but the game's in a bit of a rough spot right now, where a lot of people just haven't really played the game. A lot of people say that this game is trash, which, let's be honest, people say everything about everything, right? But I don't really agree. I mean, do I miss Tekken 7? Yeah, but I like Tekken 8 a lot too. I do think that maybe when Season 3 starts, eventually, that this game will be placed into a state where everybody would be like, okay, this game's awesome, this game's great. It's in a bit of a rough patch right now, and I've always tried to say that it's just, the game's going to change, the developers can add new things. And I even heard that the models are going to be adjusted slightly, which I think that's interesting. But regardless, I'm an optimist by nature. I tend to think that eventually this game will be in a state where everybody's like, oh, this is so cool. It's just in a bit of a bad spot for now. But wrapping it up, because I don't want to spend too long on this, Miary Zo is a cool character, and yeah, she looks great in short hair. Really cool customization. But she's a very cool character.